This is the anime where the former Demon King uses an incredible power to reincarnate in the future. However, he is reborn as a little boy, and the future is very different from the world he lived in. The story begins in the era of legends, when gods and magic ruled the world. Amid many events taking place, we meet Leonis Magnus, who in this case is the Demon Lord. He receives a report that the other Demon Lords have already fallen, and that the 6 great heroes are approaching to defeat him. We see his army of undead fighting against the humans, but then a giant tree begins to grow, and one of the heroes climbs to its top. Theris fires an arrow, which splits in the air and begins to rain light over the battlefield. Reviving the fallen human soldiers, a dragon appears to aid the humans and begins to surround the castle. The humans keep advancing, and the giant tree starts attacking with its roots. Leo prepares to go out and face them all, but is reminded by his subordinate of the promise he made to the goddess of darkness, meaning this is still not the moment for him to die. Leo then puts away his staff, and we see his castle being destroyed. He accepts his defeat, but declares that, as an undead king, he will rise again after 1,000 years and will reclaim his throne. Now in the future, we see 2 girls entering a ruin. We learn that the ruin was discovered due to an earthquake, and that they are there investigating to see if the place contains a void nest, which are the creatures they face in this world. One of them is named Rycelia, and her maid is named Regina. And as they go deeper into the ruin, Regina wonders if they will really find any voids. But Rycelia reminds her that voids are creatures that usually make nests in very deep underground ruins, so the chance of encountering one is far too great. We see the 2 using a counter to help detect the presence of voids, and they end up finding some very strange statues. They think the ruin might be some kind of important tomb, and continue exploring. The counter starts beeping as they approach a door, but this door appears to be magically sealed. Rycelia examines the inscription, but has difficulty understanding what is written. Regina thinks it will take her some time to decipher it, so she decides to explore on her own. Rycelia keeps examining the text, but when she touches the door, it suddenly opens for her. It lights up, and a giant crystal is revealed on the other side. She takes a closer look at the crystal, and notices that someone is inside it. We return to the past, exactly at the time when Leo meets the goddess of darkness, called Roselia. She reminds him of the promise that in 1,000 years, a human who will serve as a vessel for his power will appear, and his duty is to find that human. Leo begs her to stay with him, but she simply flies away. Now we see Rycelia trying to destroy the crystal, but her weapon does not seem to have any effect. Leo ends up waking up due to this disturbance, and wonders how she entered that room, since the place should be sealed by his magic. He wonders if 1,000 years have already passed, and uses a spell that allows him to understand Rycelia. He thinks she is some kind of tomb robber, so he prepares to punish her, but the crystal he is in suddenly shatters, throwing her away. He approaches to punish her, but Rycelia is confused, not understanding what a child is doing there. Leo, when seeing his own reflection, is shocked to realize that he is only a child now. He wonders if the reincarnation ritual failed, since he seems to have returned to his youngest form, the same as when he was a hero. Rycelia wonders what he was doing inside the crystal, and immediately checks if he is alright. Leo feels embarrassed, and for a few seconds he even thinks about how cute Rycelia is. Rycelia concludes that the boy is suffering from some kind of amnesia, and quickly tells him she will protect him. Leo cannot believe that a demon lord like him is being treated this way, but part of him even finds it amusing. However, out of nowhere he ends up fainting. When Leo wakes up, Rycelia gives him some food, but then we discover that he lost his sense of taste centuries ago. He also cannot believe that his body lost consciousness due to hunger, and because of this, he feels very embarrassed. He wants to punish Rycelia for her disrespectful behavior, but remembering how she shared her food with him, he decides not to do so. Rycelia introduces herself to him, revealing that she is a swordswoman in training at the Sacred Sword Academy. She asks to know more about him, so he introduces himself as Leonis Magnus. She finds his name interesting, and Leo thinks she should recognize him from the past legends about him, but she only says that his name is beautiful, and even shortens it, calling him simply Leo. She wonders how he ended up in a ruined place, and asks if he was kidnapped and imprisoned by a void. Leo knows nothing about what she is talking about and asks what exactly a void is. Rycelia is surprised that he does not know, but explains that they are humanity's enemies who suddenly appeared 64 years ago. Meanwhile, Regina is exploring on her own, when suddenly her counter begins to sound and a crystal starts to move. She immediately activates her sacred sword and prepares for a fight. Back with Leo, he receives a brief explanation from Rycelia, who tells him that humanity still does not know much about the voids, and Leo wonders what year they are in. However, it is not very clear how much time has passed, because now they are using a different calendar system, and according to Rycelia, they are in year 64. Suddenly, an explosion occurs and Regina reports the appearance of a colossal void. The wall is suddenly destroyed and an ogre-class void appears. Rycelia tries to shoot it with her weapon, but causes no damage. Leo prepares to defeat it, wanting to protect his mausoleum, but suddenly stumbles over his cloak, as he is not used to his new body, which is far too small. The monster comes even closer. However, it is suddenly struck by an explosion caused by Regina's weapon. She asks who the boy is, but Rycelia tells her she will explain later. The monster begins to rise again, so Regina transforms her weapon into an even larger cannon, striking it in the chest. The monster manages to survive, and Leo is surprised, recognizing Regina's power as equal to a level 4 explosion spell. Regina tells them to flee while she finishes off the void. Rycelia does not want to leave her, but thinking of Leo's safety, she agrees to go. As they run, Leo thinks how everything seems to be going wrong. He considers going back to destroy the monster, but decides to stay with Rycelia to obtain more information about the current world. Their path is blocked by another void monster, and Rycelia tells him to run. She prepares to fight the monster, but Leo considers revealing his power and defeating it. He is about to cast his spell, but Rycelia suddenly pushes him aside as the monster attacks and knocks her down. She is thrown to the side and begins to bleed, but still worries about Leo, telling him to escape. She apologizes for not being able to protect him, and then another monster appears, and Leo is surrounded on all sides. But when the creatures attack him, he is completely protected by a magical barrier. He summons his staff and instantly crushes one of the monsters with a level 8 gravity spell. Next, he attacks with a fireball, easily eliminating the other two monsters. However, he is shocked when he sees that the monster's bones still remain. He notices that in his current body, his powers are only 1/3 of what they used to be. As a demon lord, he does not care about human life, but he acknowledges Rycelia's courage. So, he decides to bring her back to life. When he revives her, we see a peculiar symbol appear on her body. Regina finishes off the monster on her side and immediately tries to contact Rycelia. Leo is impressed that humans have developed such long-distance communication technology, and after that, Rycelia wakes up again. She immediately embraces him, happy that he is safe, and Leo cannot believe that this is the first thing she is concerned about. She then wonders how she is alive, and Leo says that her injuries were not that serious and that he only used a healing spell on her. Rycelia is confused by this and wonders if it was some kind of sacred sword power he used. Leo says he does not know what she means. Then Rycelia explains that sacred swords are a power that arose among humans to fight the void. When the void first appeared, children with mysterious abilities also began to emerge. Leo remembers Regina's weapon, and Rycelia explains that sacred swords seem to embody the wielder's personality, but she notes that she has not yet been blessed with her own sacred sword. That is why she fights only with magical devices. Regina joins them and asks about the monsters they encountered. Rycelia also wants to know what happened, but Leo says he hid, and the creatures simply vanished. After that, they manage to reach the outside, and the girls decide to take Leo back to the city. Regina introduces herself along the way and makes a suggestive remark toward him. After noticing the boy looking at her body, Rycelia asks her not to be strange, but Regina keeps teasing him, and Leo cannot believe that a demon lord like him is being ridiculed by a mere human. When they arrive in the city, Leo is surprised to see it, and Rycelia reveals that this is the 7th Assault Garden, humanity's last fortress against the Voids. Leo cannot believe humanity's evolution. In a flashback 6 years earlier, we see the 3rd Assault Garden being attacked by an army of Voids. People took refuge in the mansion's shelter, where we see young Rycelia and Regina clinging to each other in fear. Regina is frightened by the noises outside, but Rycelia reassures her, saying that her parents and the other knights have never lost a battle before. The noises outside grow louder, so Rycelia tries to run to the door to help her family, but Regina holds her back and tells her to calm down. They are rescued some time later, but we learn that all the sacred knights die. Rycelia falls to her knees, and she and Regina begin to cry. In the present, Leo wonders if the entire island is a fortress, but Regina tells him that it is also a city where they live and that they must protect it. Leo is surprised to learn that an entire island moves, and Rycelia informs her superiors that they brought a refugee boy to the dormitories, adding that he awakened his sacred sword, which Rycelia assumes he must have used to heal her injuries. Rycelia tells him that from now on he will live with them at the Excalibur Academy, where people with sacred swords are trained to become true swordsmen. Regina prepares for a trip to the market, but Rycelia stays behind and tells Leo that he must pass through an examination gate before entering. Leo goes to the bathroom, wondering how things could have gone so wrong that he ended up trapped in the body of a child. He summons his subordinate, Blockus, who is actually a very powerful tame dog, and Sherry, who is a maidservant devoted to her master. They are surprised to see his current form. Sherry finds him adorable, and he tells his subordinates that his reincarnation ritual failed, which is why he returned to his former human form from when he was a hero. Leo informs them that they are on a mobile island created by humanity called the 7th Assault Garden, and he learned that there are 6 more islands around. His servants note that humanity has changed drastically compared to the past, as back then they used to be the weakest. Leo orders the two to discreetly inspect the island without using any spells, while he infiltrates the academy and lives as a normal human. In the examination room, he realizes that his mana is being detected, so he quickly controls his mana to prevent an alarm from triggering, thus finally being able to get his identity card. However, Rycelia takes it to take a photo, and we learn that she needs his identity card to schedule her research on his sacred sword, so she decides to keep it. On the way to the academy, Leo is surprised to see the peaceful nature of the island, and Rycelia reveals that this is because it has never been invaded by the Voids. As he tours the academy, he asks why laser facilities are necessary, and is surprised to hear that these weapons work better than strict military training. Soon after, Rycelia shows Leo the training field, where the investigation into his sword will be carried out. Suddenly, she feels a headache, but recovers, saying that she must resume her training and strive to acquire her sacred sword. As they pass the dormitories, a boy named Muzel and his group stop them, insult Rycelia and mock Leo, and we see that the girls around him are under the control of Muzel's sacred sword. He invites Rycelia to join his harem, but she refuses. He grabs Rycelia by the hair, and this enrages Leonis, who casts a spell that makes Muzel fall to his knees before him. He warns Muzel never to touch a single hair on Rycelia's head again, which prompts Muzel to draw his sacred sword. But a girl named Elphine intervenes, threatening to report him to the administrative department. Muzel leaves reluctantly, and we learn that Elphine is part of Rycelia's platoon. And when Rycelia introduces her to Leo, Elphine says she could not participate in the last expedition. She was processing the strange magical reaction observed on the island, and she comments that an investigation team will gather more information about the case. After that, Leo is taken to an old-looking house, which turns out to be the dormitory of Rycelia's squad. We then learn that dorms are assigned to squads based on a merit system, and because Rycelia is considered a failure, she lives in a humble dorm. Rycelia takes Leo upstairs, and he asks if it's really okay for him to enter a girl's dormitory, but she says it's fine since he's just a child. Rycelia points out the bathroom so he can take a bath, and while Leo is amazed by the hot shower water, she joins him. While washing him, she says he can join any squad he wants, but admits she would like him to join hers. Leo asks why she wants to fight so badly despite not having a sacred sword. But as Rhycelia starts to explain, she faints. Leo activates a symbol on his body, causing her to stand up, and then she drinks blood from his neck. She's shocked by her own actions, and Leo tells her that she hadn't been healed. In fact, she had died. In a flashback from 2 years ago, we see Rhycelia fighting robots in a training facility. Muzel interrupts her, telling her to stop resisting and to join his squad. But he's kicked out by Regina, who tells Rhycelia that once she awakens her sacred sword, she'll easily deal with guys like Muzel. But Rhycelia says that's not the reason she wants a sacred sword. In the present, Rhycelia wakes from her sleep, and Leo reveals his identity as a reincarnated ancient sorcerer. He explains that he used a level 10 spell to reanimate her, turning her into an undead vampire. He also explains that she drank his blood to restore her mana. Rhycelia then tells him about the Void Horde that destroyed her hometown, making her an orphan at the time. She also shares how the Academy took her and Regina in. Rhycelia admits she takes on dangerous missions to try to accelerate her own awakening, then asks Leo if it's impossible for her to awaken a sacred sword even now as a vampire. He isn't sure, but assures her that in any case, she's stronger than before. Suddenly, his stomach growls, and he's embarrassed by his new human body. In the cafeteria, he tries to buy a meal with a gold coin, saying it could pay for the whole menu. But he's shocked to learn the cafeteria only accepts credits, and that gold is worthless due to advances in alchemy, meaning all his savings are now useless. Out of nowhere, nearby, we see some thugs surrounding a girl. She asks them to wait a week, but they refuse, already trying to take advantage of her body. Irritated, she drives them away using her wooden sword. We soon learn she is Sakuya, another member of Rhycelia's squad. Sakuya apologizes to Rhycelia for not joining the exploration trip because she had gone gambling after class. She already recognizes Leo thanks to Elphine, and Leo notices she is extremely skilled with a sword. Sakuya offers to buy lunch for everyone, and Leo asks her about the different clothes she's wearing. She explains it's her sister's attire from their homeland, which was destroyed by the Voids, and she swears she'll one day wipe them all out. We also learn that Sakuya is a compulsive gambler, which is why she was being harassed by those thugs. At the training facility, we see a woman named Alto, who was assigned to research Leo's sacred sword. He summons his staff, saying it's a support weapon, but to everyone's surprise, he easily destroys 3 Void simulator robots. The instructor says this calls for a detailed investigation, but suddenly Muzel interrupts, saying he could fight Leo and file a report on his sword. Both agree to fight, but Rhycelia steps in for Leo, unsatisfied with Muzel's entire squad fighting him alone. Muzel then says she can fight him too, but only if she agrees that if they lose, she'll have to join his squad. Leo accepts, adding that if they win, Muzel can never bother Rhycelia again. The battle begins under the supervision of many onlookers, and Rhycelia quickly overpowers Muzel's squad members. One of the other girls attacks Leo under Muzel's orders, but is stopped by Leo's shadow summoning spell. Regina rushes in, having overslept, and is surprised by the situation. Rhycelia defeats the rest of the platoon, but just as she's about to strike Muzel, he uses the power of his sacred sword and disarms her. Muzel approaches Leo, and at the moment Leo decides to deal with this enemy and his entire platoon alone. Rhycelia awakens her sacred sword, being the last surviving member of the Crystalia family. Her sacred sword is extremely powerful. With this power, she breaks free from her enemy's restraints and launches an attack, cutting through Muzel's sacred sword. This breaks his control over the girls in his platoon, and they return to their normal state. Muzel surrenders, and Regina runs to hug Rhycelia in celebration, while the crowd simply applauds. Later, in the dormitory, Rhycelia thanks Leo and says that, as his servant, she will protect him, but asks that he make her stronger. A party is held in the dorm to celebrate Rhycelia's achievement and Leo's joining her platoon. They discuss which room Leo will stay in, and he says it's best to stay in Rhycelia's room since she was the one who found him. Leo later goes to Elphine's room to register in the Academy's network. Elphine says she used to be a DPS in her previous platoon, but now she's a data analyst, having lost her original powers after watching her friends die to stop the enemies. Leo registers and borrows Elphine's tablet. He looks at the world map on the tablet, remembering what the place used to be like in his era, and notices that the voids appear where ancient battles took place. Blackus emerges from his shadow and informs him that the entire city is powered by a massive mana crystal. Right after, Sherry appears and tells Leo that he and all the wars he fought have been forgotten by humans, something Leo finds very strange. We then see some divers underwater beneath the island, searching for a possible void outbreak. Suddenly, they are attacked by a creature resembling a tree. At that moment, we jump back to the year 432 of the Holy God calendar, where a young Leo, then the hero of the Sacred Sword, is on his way to get rid of gargoyles terrorizing a quarry. His guide notes that Leo is an honorable person for dealing with monsters, while the other 6 heroes are busy protecting the Imperial City. When they arrive at the monster's location, it turns out Leo was tricked by the guide. A group of soldiers appears and quickly chains him. They pierce his chest with spears, killing him, while a group of mages seals away his magic. As he dies, they say he will no longer pose a threat to their master, and in his final moments, Leo is visited by the goddess of darkness, Roselia, who asks if he hates his traitors. Leo says they're not necessarily evil. Roselia asks him to join her in a rebellion against the world, saying she's always had her eyes on him and likes him very much, so he should become completely hers. Back in the present, Leo wakes from his dream and remembers his mission to restore the demon army. He awakens Roselia from her sleep using his mark of authority and explains that he can control his servants using it. Roselia asks if Leo intends to do indecent, perverted things, but Leo says he'd never do that. He realizes that, even though her bloodlust peaks at night, she should at least ask before drinking his blood. Suddenly, Roselia gets a call from Elphine, who says a strategy meeting was called just now on their day off, and that she'll update her as soon as she gets more information. Roselia then tells Leo to train her on their day off, and he teases her, saying she's full of energy after sucking his blood. At the command center, the board members and interim director are informed that communication with a Marine platoon has been lost, and void activity was detected only 3 seconds before the signal was cut an exceptionally short time for a void attack. They examine blurry images of the creature and speculate whether it's a new species resembling trees or even a void lord. They discuss similarities to a horde attack from 6 years ago and how drastic improvements were made to prevent another tragedy like that from happening. While they're discussing ways to deal with this new threat, the interim director receives a call from the current commander. The commander orders that a follow-up investigation be conducted into the case, and Gillian, the division commander, agrees to assemble a squad with elite platoons to investigate, also assuring that he will not allow any harm to come to the island. Elsewhere, in the training field, we see that Roselia has improved a lot, as she can now easily handle the training robots. Leo then sets up an even more difficult challenge for her. Before that, he covers the training grounds with a barrier and summons a horde of his lowest level skeletons. Afterward, we see her exhausted after defeating all the skeletons. She offers to prepare a meal as thanks for the training, but Leo is reluctant to accept, saying he doesn't want to rely on her again, although his stomach is saying otherwise. In another location, we see a reconnaissance team underwater searching for the Void Lord. Back at the dorms, Sakuya sees Blackus sitting outside and finds him very cute, so she ties some food around his neck for later. After that, Regina enters Elphine's room with new sweets for her to try. Shortly after, Sakuya walks in, talking about a dog she found outside. Regina asks why Elphine is wearing her uniform, and she replies that she is on duty with the reconnaissance squad. Roselia and Leo drive through the city in her vehicle, observing everything around them, and Roselia is once again surprised by humanity's achievements. We see that Sherry has started working in a new kitchen to earn money for her master, and she's tasked with cutting potatoes by the chef, but she ends up cutting both the potatoes and the bowl. As punishment, she is told to sweep outside, and just as she's about to start sweeping, she sees Roselia arriving with Leo and hides behind the door. Roselia picks up some donuts for someone, and Sherry wonders where they are going. After they leave, they stop at another place, where several children run out to greet Roselia. We learn that these children are orphans who live in the restaurant and that Roselia sometimes works there. Leo remembers that he, too, was an orphan like these children, though his life was very different. Inside the establishment, a little boy plays a prank on Rycelia by lifting her skirt. Leo tries to catch him immediately, but Rycelia calms him down, saying it was just a joke. They join the owner of the place, and Rycelia introduces Leo to her. Rycelia says she brought donuts and vegetables for them, and that tonight she'll be in charge of dinner. Leo realizes this is the place Rycelia wants to protect and starts to wonder if he still has a place he wishes to protect the way she does. Meanwhile, Elfine notices vibrations over the city using the radar, and Sakuya feels uneasy, as if something is going wrong. In the administrative quarters beneath the city, workers are checking food supplies and are shocked to see tree roots invading the room. We now return to the year 428 in the sacred god calendar. During a time when monsters are invading a walled city, on the city walls are 3 heroes, including Leo, who at the time was only 12 years old. He observes the approaching danger when Uthers insists they can't wait for the other heroes, and the eldest among them, Ericale, decides to wipe out the monsters along with all the humans, saying they can just revive the humans afterward. He then casts a spell that incinerates all living beings in the city, instructing Uthers to revive the people later. However, Leo draws his sword, cutting down the old man's spell. He simply states his aversion to the plan of killing and reviving everyone. He leaps onto the monsters, killing them all, and the people in the city begin to cheer. The old man remarks that one day, Leo will dig his own grave with so much power and for winning the people's hearts too much. Back in the present, we see in the control room that everyone is informed the underwater specimen has disappeared. The acting director says it must have been a void to vanish like that, but Gillian suggests it might have crystallized and emphasizes the need to eliminate it before it can manifest again. They are then told that a holy swordswoman from the 18th platoon wants to share her investigation results with them. Initially, the military advisor is uninterested in hearing from a student, but quickly changes his mind when it's mentioned she belongs to an affiliated family. Elfine begins presenting the data she has gathered, deducing that a void infiltrated the underground of the garden, causing disruptions in the mobile network. Everyone is incredulous at her revelation, while the operators in the control room support the assessment, stating that strange sounds have been reported in Block 59 and that the void seems to be moving. Elfine suggests that the infiltrated void may be concealing its movements to penetrate deeper into the city. They argue that a void wouldn't have the intelligence for this, but another report from the Resources Department reveals the presence of dense vegetation, similar to roots, inside a storage facility. We see Regina trying to call Rycelia, but she can't reach her. Elfine then sends her drone in their direction, where Rycelia and Leone are with the children. Meanwhile, some soldiers are confronting the void inside the storage facility, but it escapes, leaving everyone confused. Elfine reports that the void is moving toward the power plant along the power line, and if it reaches it, it could absorb an enormous amount of energy and cause total chaos. The void indeed reaches the power plant and begins battling the security systems. At the same time, the leaders of the place declare that the garden will enter fortress mode and order all citizens to evacuate to the shelters. In the end, the void strikes the mana crystal inside the plant, allowing it to summon a horde of voids, and various monsters begin falling from the sky. In the control room, preparations are made for a prolonged battle, as they must hold out for at least 3 days until reinforcements from the capital arrive. Leo and Rycelia understand the situation, and Leo orders Sherry to protect Rycelia's friends, while they try to evacuate the children. Flying monsters approach, and Leo joins Rycelia as she prepares to fight. She effortlessly cuts down 2 of them, while he quickly burns the rest. 3 ogre-class voids suddenly appear where the rest of the squad is positioned. Sakuya easily eliminates them one by one, and Regina takes care of the others with her cannon. They successfully clear all nearby monsters, but tense up when they spot a Hydra-class void not far from their position, and a Dragon-class void also appears in the sky. Leo mocks the fact that even mighty dragons have been turned into mere voids and decides to kill them himself. He tells Rycelia to protect him while he casts a powerful spell and strikes the dragon with a level 10 spell. Despite this devastating blow, the dragon survives. the dragon breathes fire, knocking Rhycelia aside, but Blackas emerges from the shadows to buy Leo more time to cast another spell. Blackas manages to hold the dragon long enough for Leo to finish his casting, thus defeating the dragon. However, the victory is short-lived as the ground begins to tremble, causing a deep fissure to open, and thick branches emerge, grabbing Rhycelia and quickly pulling her underground. Leo runs toward the fissure, but more branches sprout, blocking his path. The branches merge to create a monster that calls Leo by name, and he recognizes it as Arakel. Now, in a flashback to the year 434 of the Sacred Gods calendar, in the undead capital of Necrosa, we see Leo returning to the castle after a battle, where he is greeted by Rhycelia. It becomes clear that Leo is gradually transforming into an undead, with half of his face turned into a skeleton's. Leo says he was victorious in battle against a formidable enemy and presents the spoils to Rhycelia. She asks him to keep them safe for her. Rhycelia also praises him, and Leo says he has made a new friend named Blackas, a member of the Dark Kingdom's royal family, whom he supports during times of need due to an ongoing feud, in exchange for learning some spells from him. Rhycelia expresses her desire to give Leo a gift and takes the sacred sword he once wielded as a hero. She believes this sword is no longer suitable for him and transforms it into a demonic sword before presenting it to him. She mentions that there are specific conditions to use it, but Leo seems already aware of them. In the present, Leo and Arakel face off. Leo counters Arakel's attempt to summon more voids by striking him with fire magic. Arakel retreats underground, while Leo quickly checks the control mark and discovers that Rhycelia is still alive, as the mark has not disappeared. He then vows to destroy Arakel once and for all. Blackas emerges from the shadows, and the two discuss the fact that Arakel is still alive, theorizing that Rhycelia might also still be alive. Leo casts a spell and assigns some of his soldiers to protect the children while he goes to rescue Rhycelia. Blackas hears a faint voice nearby, and discovers the communication device dropped by Rhycelia. Elfine calls Rhycelia, asking her to join them in the fight against a Hydra-class void, since at the moment they don't have enough strength to defeat it alone. Leo answers, explaining that Rhycelia has been kidnapped. He asks Elfine to use her sacred sword's tracking abilities to locate Rhycelia so he can rescue her. She warns him about the danger, suggesting he wait for the arrival of the other platoons, but he argues that waiting is not an option. Assessing the situation through her sacred sword, Elfine decides to trust him after witnessing the extent of the destruction he caused. Elfine tracks Rhycelia's location and discovers she is at the power plant. Leo and Blackas then set off to rescue her. Meanwhile, Elfine narrowly avoids a Hydra attack, and Sherry intervenes to help kill the Hydra without drawing attention to herself, leaving everyone confused about what just happened. Leo leads Blackas to the plant, and Blackas asks why he is trying to protect humans. Leo admits he has grown fond of them. They enter the plant, and Leo attacks Arakel with a fire spell, but Arakel is unfazed since he can easily regenerate thanks to his abilities. Arakel claims Leo should have died 1,000 years ago, but Leo responds that he didn't die back then, he merely sealed his soul. Arakel says the world has changed and will be rebuilt along with the empty star. Leo wonders what he's talking about, but Arakel ignores the question and says he was chosen to be the bearer. Suddenly, faces start emerging from all his branches, shocking Leo as he realizes Arakel has assimilated the priests of the Sacred Order. Meanwhile, Rhycelia is bound by branches somewhere deep inside Arakel's body. When Leo starts attacking Arakel, he notices his mana is being drained too quickly. He realizes Arakel is draining their mana. The situation worsens as all the assimilated faces combine to launch an attack, and Leo understands the only way to win is to find Rhycelia and awaken her. During the battle, Leo coats an earpiece with his blood and starts searching for Rhycelia. We then see Rhycelia trapped by branches. Moved by her desire to protect everyone, thorns suddenly burst out, destroying some of the branches holding her. Leo locates Rhycelia and shoots the earpiece into her, piercing her and awakening her vampire powers. She escapes and reunites with Leo, while Blackus vanishes to recover. Rycelia asks what Leo did, and he tells her he gave her some of his blood infused with mana. Now they prepare to face Ericale, who begins casting multiple level 10 spells capable of widespread destruction. In response, Leo asks Rycelia to protect him while he faces Ericale. Rycelia fends off the monsters using her blood manipulation, while Leo prepares his next move by drawing the demonic sword. It's revealed that the condition to use the demonic sword Dainsleif is that he can only wield it while protecting his kingdom. Thus, he declares that the 7th Assault Garden is his kingdom and makes all its citizens his subjects. He promises to protect them, and Blackus is surprised that Dainsleif accepts him. Ericale claims changing the world's fate is impossible, but Leo is determined to seize destiny and strikes Ericale with a powerful sword technique, finally defeating him. At that moment, new voids stop appearing, and the ones already in their world begin to vanish. In the control room, everyone is stunned that they managed to successfully repel a horde. They speculate that the Lord of the Voids might have been caught in the power plant's meltdown, causing his death. Meanwhile, Leo and Rycelia land on the ground, warmly welcomed by the rest of the platoon as they celebrate everyone's safety. Back at the dormitory, Leo lies in bed while Rycelia brings him a sandwich and a medal made by the children they helped. She hesitates to ask for his blood, but Leo, already sensing her desire, offers his finger. Just as they begin the act, the other members of the group walk in and see everything. Rycelia tries to explain, but no one believes she wasn't doing something improper with the boy. After the attack on the 7th Assault Garden, various restorations in the city begin to take place, and the city's mana supply source has been temporarily switched to solar panels, which convert sunlight into mana. Due to the damage that occurred at the power plant, Leo tries to enter the vault, driven by his desire to learn more about the land he declared as his kingdom. However, entry is denied to him, and the gate's artificial spirit informs him that he must first obtain permission from the administration department. Suddenly, Regina approaches from behind and starts teasing him. She asks why he is there, and he lies, saying that he came to study ancient languages so he can read the inscriptions on the walls of the ruins where he was found. Regina then grants him access to the vault just by looking at it. Once inside, Leo asks how she managed to do that, and she simply says it was a magic trick and asks him to keep it a secret. At the same time, they receive a message from the administration department, inviting them and the rest of the squad to a ceremony hosted by Imperial Princess Alteria. Leo suggests that Regina head to the port first and promises to join her after his research is done, but she decides not to attend the ceremony. In the conservation wing, a group of demi-humans led by a black lion named Bastia are planning to storm the ceremony and kidnap the princess. Their goal is to use her as a bargaining chip to secure the release of their brothers who are imprisoned in the capital. However, their plans are interrupted by Sharnark, the Witch of the Black Forest, who proposes a different approach. She decides to equip the group with demon swords so they can fight on equal terms against the Sacred Swordsman. Sharnark proposes they hijack the ship and suggests they take the princess as a prisoner. Additionally, she asks them to spare some of the swordsmen's lives so she can use them as sacrifices, and the group agrees. Back at the port, we see Princess Alteria waving to the crowd from the ship, while Regina watches from afar. Leo meets up with the rest of the squad and gives Rycelia a keychain he bought for her, which she ends up liking. On the way to the ship, they are stopped by Fenris, a childhood friend of Rycelia, who teases her by calling her the squad's lazybones. The two start bickering until they are interrupted by Elfine. Before leaving, Elfine congratulates Rycelia for awakening her sacred sword. Meanwhile, the demi-humans manage to infiltrate the ship from the seaside, where security is weaker. They disguise themselves as soldiers after killing the real ones. On deck, the other squad members are enjoying their time together, while Leo reads the information from the vault and realizes that history has been deliberately erased by someone. Sherry appears before him, revealing everything she managed to gather about the ship. Leo thanks her by giving her a candy as a gift, which leaves her slightly disappointed. Rycelia approaches Leo and convinces him to join her for a swimming class, But during the lesson, Leo ends up regretting it, finding it hard to concentrate. After all, Ryselia's outfit is far too distracting. Meanwhile, the princess is on her way to give a speech, accompanied by some guards, but they are ambushed and killed by the disguised demi-humans. These demi-humans capture the princess, while her pet manages to escape. The deck is also taken over by the demi-humans. They reveal their demon swords, but when Fenris is about to attack them, they threaten to shoot the civilians, forcing the defenders to comply. An elderly elf among the demi-humans uses an apple as a bomb and promises to detonate it if anyone tries anything foolish. They declare that the kidnapping is to negotiate a deal with the government. When military advisor Baldur questions their intentions, a beastman becomes irritated by his provocations and reveals that they received their new powers from the goddess. Leo then whispers to Ryselia for them to split up while he goes to save the princess. As soon as he says this, he silently sinks into the ground with his shadow. In the control room, the princess is held captive by Sharnark. The princess activates the engine using her elemental powers in exchange for the civilians' safety. Bastia orders her to sail toward the capital, but she notices a void nest in the way. At that moment, it is revealed that Sharnark's true intentions are to sacrifice sacred swordsmen contaminated with void miasma. Bastia tries to stop her, but ends up being engulfed by the flames from her demon sword. Sharnark then threatens her servant to follow her unless he wants to suffer the same fate. Regina arrives at the port and is confused to see the ship trying to depart. The princess's pet finds her and asks for help. With him, Regina quickly jumps onto the edge of the departing ship and finds Leo lost in the corridors. Surprisingly, it's revealed that the princess is Regina's younger sister. Regina herself says this, asking Leo to help save her younger sister. At that moment, it's also revealed that Regina was born as the king's fourth daughter, but was sentenced to death because she was born on the same night a calamity star shone in the sky, something her kingdom believes is a bad omen. Duke Cristalia begged the king to spare her life, and so she was entrusted to the family of one of the duke's sons, growing up alongside him as Ryselia's maid. Regina reveals her true identity to Leo. She tells him she came to the port to observe her sister but ended up finding her pet spirit, Carbuncle. Leo tells her that the princess has been kidnapped by a group of demi-humans who have taken control of the ship, and they decide to rescue her. On Ryselia's side, Elfine asks her to create a distraction so she can block the detonator with the drone she hid in the chandelier. Ryselia uses a nearby fork to prick her finger and activate her vampire powers. Leo and Regina arrive at the control room but are surprised to find it empty, with the ship's autopilot locked. Leo suggests calling the princess using her royal powers, but Regina is reluctant to reveal her identity. Leo argues that the princess's safety is more important. Regina then connects with the princess through Carbuncle without revealing who she is. The princess gives Regina her location and the access code, asking her to prevent the ship from colliding with the void pit. Leo entrusts her with stopping the ship while he goes to rescue the princess. In the hostage room, the girls free themselves and attack the captors. Elfine blocks the bomb's signal with her drone, while Ryselia fuses the detonator with her blood. They disarm the captors and free the hostages, but are shocked when they see the ship in flames in the middle of the void pit. When void creatures leap aboard, the girls brace themselves. The battle begins, and they fight the monsters while civilians are evacuated. Leo contacts Ryselia, telling her to back up Regina in the control room and use the key he gave her. He says he'll deal with the void creatures, then spots the princess being taken away in a plane. Ryselia saves Regina just as she's surrounded, while the other girls face a brain eater far stronger than the void creatures on board. Ryselia insists on taking it on alone. When the girls leave the room with the civilians, Ryselia uses her demon sword to defeat the brain eater. After reaching the ship's core, Regina unlocks the ship with the code Scarlet Calamity. She's happy to know the princess remembers her this way. Leo then traps the aircraft with his shadow just as it's about to take off. He throws fireballs at the surrounding void creatures, boasting about punishing the enemies of his kingdom as the Demon Lord. Fenris and Elfine are surrounded by void creatures when Sherry saves them in the blink of an eye. without drawing attention to herself. Leaving the crowd confused, we see Sakuya exhausted in another room after defeating the Brain Eater. When Leo confronts Sharnark, he reveals he's the Demon Lord, but she doesn't believe him. He easily stops her spells and learns from her magic. Leo interrogates Sharnark, and she reveals that her goal is to offer demon swords made from corrupted sacred swordsmen to the goddess. Leo asks for the goddess's name, but before she can reveal it, she's impaled by the Augustar Mejigis, a legendary blade known for killing demon lords. It's revealed that the blade has manifested in a current Void Lord. Leo casts a level 8 spell on it, but the blade absorbs the attack. It teleports to strike Leo, and they fight while Regina watches through a camera. Regina activates the ship's weapons, which fire at the creature and nearby enemies. She also launches a missile at the Void Lord, dealing some damage. Another missile is fired, but it opens in midair, revealing Rycelia inside, who joins Leo in the fight. Leo asks her to immobilize the regular Void creatures while he prepares to use his demon sword. Using a secret sword technique, Leo strikes the Lord of the Voids with a single blow, triggering a massive explosion of energy inside the ship and destroying the lentil blade. Later, at the port, the princess thanks the squad for their efforts, but Leo is noticeably absent. The princess asks why, and the girls explain that he could not come because he was ill. When asked about the spirit medium who helped during the incident, they tell the princess that she also could not come, but they pass along the message that their friend is doing very well, which makes the princess happy. Now Leo is exhausted, and his entire body aches. Regina visits him with food, thanking him for reuniting her with the princess. She gives him a kiss, and then we see a group of soldiers pursuing demi-humans who are hiding underground. The soldiers find them and declare them under arrest, but suddenly the soldiers turn to stone, and a strange man appears, casting a spell that forces the demi-humans to bow before him. He introduces himself as the Demon Lord and explains that the soldiers will soon return to normal. He promises to give the demi-humans a safe haven if they swear loyalty to him, so they agree to join his cause, and he calls them demon wolves as he creates an underground labyrinth. He says that the soldiers will not be able to see this subterranean labyrinth and that they should use it to escape. Suddenly, he receives a call and realizes that someone is looking for him, so he departs. We then cut to Rycelia, who sees several crows around the dormitory and knows they are drawn to vampires. She also suspects that Leo might have done something about it, so she starts looking for him. But when she enters his apartment, she sees Sherry cleaning, leaving her puzzled, yet Sherry suddenly vanishes. Rycelia concludes she must have been imagining things. She then calls Leo, telling him she is looking for him, but he hangs up, and she decides to take a bath. Meanwhile, the Demon Lord returns to his room and removes his disguise, revealing that he is actually Leo. We learn that he is planning to rebuild his demon army and has been recruiting certain demians because they can serve him well. He enters Rycelia's room and sees her dressing, immediately apologizing, but Regina ends up seeing them and apologizes for interrupting their moment. At the dining table, Regina mentions the rumor that their dormitory is haunted, as recently people have seen a black dog and a ghost girl. Rycelia believes she saw the ghost, since she saw a girl cleaning Leo's room, but he tells her she is only imagining things, while inwardly knowing she is referring to Sherry. She wonders where he has been, and he says he was preparing for today's match, assuring her that he does not want to disappoint her. Regina reveals that they will be fighting against the Fenris squad. The battle will be tough, but Rycelia is determined to win. When the match begins, Rycelia manages to break the enemy's barrier, and Elphinae senses the attacker's approach, telling Regina where to find them so she can eliminate them from a distance. In the midst of battle, Sakuya advances alone, trying to create a distraction while Rycelia destroys the enemy's flags, but she ends up encountering ice wolves, one of which bites her, causing her to fall. Fenris appears, explaining that she figured out their plan and lured Sakuya to chase her wolves while her own attackers focused on destroying the enemy flags. Fenris believes her squad will win as soon as they defeat Rycelia, so she prepares for battle, ordering her partner to deal with Leo while she attacks Rycelia. Fenris pushes her back and summons her wolves to restrain her. Fenris's partner tries to shoot Leo, but he blocks the attack and uses a spell to manipulate his own shadow, strangling the enemy with it. Rhycelia breaks free and charges at Fenris, overpowering her. Leo recognizes Rhycelia's strength and starts to believe she is destined to become his right hand, leading to their victory in the match. Meanwhile, we see a mysterious man named Nefakis offering demonic swords to his goddess, saying that it is almost time for her to awaken. Right after that, an assault garden appears, and in the control room everyone sees a picture of it. Rhycelia recognizes it as her hometown, the third assault garden that vanished due to void attacks 6 years ago. They discover that this garden is approaching and will reach them in 7 days. They are also informed that a distress signal had been sent on 2 different occasions, so it is possible that there are still survivors in that city. Their superior orders them to investigate the situation and halt the garden's advance. She states that the mission must be completed within 72 hours, or else something very bad could happen. Elfine wonders why they were chosen for this mission, but soon concludes it must be because Rhycelia is from the 3rd Assault Garden, being the last surviving member of the Crystalia family. Their superior says that is a strong possibility, but explains that the mission was actually a decision made by the administration department. Even so, she believes their squad can accomplish this task. Rhycelia accepts the mission, and the next day Leo comments that he saw the mark of the holy orders in the city and therefore wants to find the person responsible. He orders Because to take care of his kingdom while he is away and tells Sherry to join him. They then fly toward the city. During the flight, Regina tells Leo to rest on her lap and begins cleaning his ear. At that moment, Leo recalls when he was with Roselia, remembering the exact moment she told him she did not have much time left to live. She said she would reincarnate after 1,000 years, and he told her he would search for her, declaring he would not rest until he found her. They arrive at the 3rd Assault Garden, but a thick fog surrounds the area, forcing them to land and search on foot. Rhycelia instructs the girls to investigate the distress signal while she and Leo attempt to stop the assault garden. Elfine orders her drone to follow Rhycelia so she can check on her friend's situation. Leo summons Sherry and orders her to look after the girls as he considers them his subjects. Rhycelia remembers that the city was destroyed while she was hiding in the shelter. Suddenly, they are attacked, and they attempt a counterattack, but it is interrupted by an energy explosion. Rhycelia ends up immobilized while Leo sees a massive void approaching. We then cut to a girl named Arl, who realizes she has been sent 1,000 years into the future. She sees the city in ruins and assumes there are no humans left in the world. And we learn that she was sent to intervene because the goddess is about to be reborn. The goddess approaches her, recognizing her as the great elven heroine, and he knows she is there to destroy the goddess's vessel using her legendary sword, the cross axe. She knows he is the guardian of the vessel, so she tries to attack him, but he suddenly disappears, and she realizes it was only an illusion. He tells her to leave, and a massive void approaches her, threatening to kill her. Back with Rhycelia, as the void is about to strike her, Leo teleports her to an underground tunnel. The void fires an energy beam, but he blocks it with a shield and summons a fireball, only for a magical barrier to protect the void. He recognizes it as a sacred protection spell and suspects the void is trying to mimic an angel, but he knows it is no match for him. Meanwhile, the girls see explosions in the distance, and Elfine notices that her drone has been destroyed, so they decide to search for Rhycelia. The void launches arrows, but Leo deflects them and uses his level 8 gravity spell, attempting to crush it to death. The void manages to withstand his magic, so Leo pushes further, casting a level 9 spell that summons a ball of light, which the void struggles against. He follows up with a lightning spell and lands a direct hit, killing the void instantly. He approaches Rhycelia, telling her he has defeated the void, but notices she is severely injured. He tells her to rest, knowing it will take some time for her to recover. At that moment, they see ghosts approaching, and she spots the crest of the Duke's family, realizing they were loyal to her father. Their leader, William, reveals that he was the one who sent the distress signal, telling her that he wishes to give a warning. He believes the 7th Assault Garden is in danger because there is a new Lord of the Void in the city who has fused with the city's power plant to gather energy. He thinks this lord is about to awaken. So Rhycelia feels she must warn everyone, though she knows no one will believe her, meaning she needs to find proof of the threat. Leo reminds her that she still needs to recover from her wounds, and William says he has arranged a car for her and even offers to take her to the mansion. We learn that these ghosts are made of mana, which allows them to drive a car since a car is a magical device, but Leo thinks the vehicle is far too slow. So he summons his horses and uses them to pull the carriage, allowing them to travel faster. We return to the girls, who encounter Arl and assume she is a survivor from the city, but she threatens them with her sword. She believes the girls are working for Nephax and tries to attack them, but Sakuya blocks her, and the two begin to fight. Sakuya manages to defeat her but decides to spare her life, as her opponent is too injured to fight properly. Rhycelia receives a call from Elfine asking about the void she encountered, so she explains that it has already been dealt with and tells Elfine there is a Lord of the Voids hiding in the city who is interfering with the power plant, which explains why the Assault Garden was reactivated. She suggests taking a look, but Elfine explains they have found the survivor and are still tending to her wounds. So Rhycelia tells them to head to the mansion once they are finished. Leo gives Rhycelia a gift, a dress made from a highly durable material. He says this dress has the ability to convert the Vampire Queen's magical energy into physical strength, but warns it will consume her mana very quickly. He stores the dress inside Rhycelia's body, telling her to imagine wearing it whenever she wants to use it. She asks why he gave it to her, and Leo says he doesn't want her to get hurt, telling her to try to stay safe, and even gives her skeletal pendants, calling them a type of charm. He says these amulets bring good luck and give her a more gothic look, which he loves. The girls tend to Arl's injuries, and she explains she was hurt while fighting a void. She asks what they are doing there, and Elfine explains that the city was destroyed 6 years ago and that they were sent to investigate how the Assault Garden was reactivated. Elfine asks her the same question, and Arl reveals she is on a mission to defeat the goddess and is about to leave, but everyone hears her stomach growl. So Sakuya gives her food while Elfine says it is their duty to protect her. We see Nephax preparing for the goddess's resurrection, but a void approaches him, saying that his angel was killed. He suspects a human defeated it, which is hard to believe, as whoever did so would be a threat, so he decides to intervene. Rhycelia arrives at the mansion and enters the library, remembering that her father used to spend time there. The ghosts use magic to allow her to see the library as it was before its destruction. Rhycelia recalls her father telling her a story about an evil demon lord who made God furious, prompting him to send a hero to deal with him. Her father said the demon lord was eventually defeated, but he was not certain if that was the true ending of the story. Nephax interrupts her moment, and she asks if he is a survivor, but he takes it as an insult and attacks, knocking her unconscious. In a flashback, we see Rhycelia as her father tells her to evacuate to the shelter. She asks him to come with her, but he explains that he must stay and fight, reminding her of the family's duty to protect the people of the city. However, he tells Rhycelia she must evacuate because she has not yet awakened her sacred sword. He recalls the tale of the demon lord, saying that he is truly evil but will return at their moment of greatest despair to defeat the voids in the name of humanity. Back in the present, Nephax thinks he may have gone too far by using a level 3 spell, but when the dust clears, he sees skeletal warriors and wonders who summon them. The skeletons declare they will protect her, and he assumes she is their master, preparing to destroy them with a level 6 spell, but at that moment, Leo arrives, casting a fire spell that knocks him down. Rhycelia asks about the skeletons, and Leo tells her they were summoned using the skeletal pendants he gave her. Nephax manages to withstand the spell and tells Leo that he is just an ordinary human and therefore not strong enough to kill him. He unleashes a fire explosion, but Leo counters with an ice spell and manages to overpower Nephax. Surprised by what Leo can do, Nephax wonders who he really is, but Leo says he is the one asking the questions. At that moment, the ground begins to shake, and Nifix laughs, saying the tremor is because the goddess has awakened. He decides his presence is no longer needed and escapes through a portal, telling Leo the world is about to end. Leo remembers having seen Nefix in his past life and that he served as a retainer to the Lord of the Underworld. Leo wonders what he is doing here and whether this goddess could be Roselia. Then, out of nowhere, the mark of the Holy Order appears as the goddess emerges, and Ilion reveals that she is the Lord of the Voids he had mentioned. Angels surround her, and Leo sees her face, realizing that she was created using the remains of the legendary heroine, Terrace. Regina watches the events unfold, informing everyone about the goddess. Then Elphinae uses her drone to activate the ship and send a distress signal, calling for reinforcements. The angels surround the squad, and Elphinae notes that it's impossible for them to retreat, so they won't survive unless they defeat the goddess. The goddess explains that she will use her drone to search for a vehicle so they can close the distance and attack her. Everyone fights the angels, destroying their bodies, but they regenerate instantly. Elphinae scans and reveals that their head is their weak point, so everyone aims for the head, which allows them to defeat the angels, while Leo remembers that Terrace had the power to restore life, explaining why the angels can regenerate. As the fight drags on, Leo notices the goddess is approaching them, and Elphinae manages to find some vehicles. She tells the others to cover her while she activates them. Leo attacks with his fire, destroying several angels. He observes that they might be able to defeat the goddess, but there are countless angels around her, so he will need to attack head-on. He uses level 10 magic to summon a massive ball of light, incinerating her body and engulfing her completely, but she regenerates instantly and prepares to cast a spell. Leo raises a barrier, and she unleashes a fire rain spell, covering the entire area in flame. Arl watches from afar, realizing the goddess used a level 11 spell called Nemesis, capable of causing widespread destruction. Leo manages to block the spell, but then sees a swarm of angels approaching. He tells Rycelia to protect him while he charges at the goddess. Rycelia uses her own blood to create wings, then heads into battle, defeating angels with the help of skeletal warriors. Leo lunges at the goddess, ready to kill her with Daneslafe. But as he goes for the final blow, the sword resonates, and he hears Roselia's voice, making him think she might be inside the goddess. This possibility causes him to hesitate, but he reluctantly attacks anyway, only for the goddess to block it and immediately retaliate with a volley of arrows. Leo is struck and falls to the ground. The goddess prepares to cast Nemesis again, but Rycelia uses the gift Leo gave her to unleash a devastating attack, knocking the goddess to the ground. Rycelia rushes to check on Leo, who tells her to run because he wants her to survive. He assumes she'll drink his blood and flee, but instead, Rycelia gives him her blood. This releases memories Leo had that Roselia had sealed. He remembers a moment with Roselia when she asked him to kill her with the demon sword if she ever turned into a monster. He told her he couldn't do it, but she insisted, saying he should find her in the future, and that Daneslafe would guide him to that destiny. Reflecting on this, he wonders how he was able to attack the goddess with the demon sword. It shouldn't be possible if she were truly Roselia, since the sword should guide him to his destined target. This leads Leo to conclude that the goddess is actually an imposter. Leo recovers, and Rycelia tears her own dress to give him a piece to stop the bleeding. He tells her he will defeat the goddess and orders her to support him, since she still has enough mana to unleash her ultimate ability. William then tells him to use the ghosts as an energy source. It's revealed that the souls of the citizens are still trapped in the city because Terrace influence prevents them from moving on. William explains that these souls want revenge, so Leo agrees to use them and begins casting his spell, creating an energy sphere that absorbs the soul's power. William wants to join them, but Leo has other plans. He summons skeletons and allows William's group to possess them, saying they can protect him while he charges his spell. While Leo channels the spell, Rycelia uses her blood to create weapons for them and leads the battle. Meanwhile, Elphinae manages to activate the vehicles, and they are about to depart, but Arl says she wants to fight the goddess. Regina reminds her she is injured, but an angel approaches, and Arl kills it with a single blow. She explains that the Crozaks was created to kill demon lords, and Sakuya knows that Arl is willing to risk everything to fulfill this mission. So Elfine agrees to let her participate, and we go back to Rycelia. While the skeletons eliminate the angels, everyone fights to protect Leo as he gathers the soul's power. But he realizes it will take time. An angel attacks Rycelia, making her fall. While the skeletons tell her not to let her guard down, they comment that her powers are impressive, but that she shouldn't rely on them during battle. She explains that her dress is damaging her body, but she is determined, so she refuses to retreat. The blood sphere expands as Leo continues gathering the souls, but the goddess prepares to use her Neem spell, and he knows he needs more time to complete his magic. He tells everyone to fall back as the goddess makes fire rain down, burning everything in the area. But we see that everyone manages to escape while he continues charging his spell. The girls are heading toward them. They see the goddess in the distance, and Arl conserves her strength. They end up realizing the road has been destroyed, so they activate their boosters, allowing them to leap over the gap. But a huge angel appears and prepares to attack them with an energy blast, only for it to suddenly be pulled away and crash into a building, dying instantly. We learn that Sherry protected them. She thought the angel might be a worthy opponent, but was disappointed by its weakness. Meanwhile, Leo completes his spell, but notices that the goddess is preparing to destroy everything. So he absorbs the energy with Denslave. She lifts a building and throws it at Leo, but Rycelia cuts it in half. Leo then releases Denslave's full power, but he detects a magical barrier protecting the goddess and realizes it's a high-level protection spell. At that moment, the girls approach the goddess, and Arl prepares to attack with Crozaks. They strike at the goddess while Regina and Sakuya go all out, but it has no effect. Then Arl unleashes her ultimate ability, piercing the barrier and wounding the goddess. However, the girls collapse to the ground and lose consciousness. Leo sees his chance since the goddess uses Rosalia's voice, but he knows that voice is fake, so he attacks with all his power, unleashing a massive explosion of energy that completely obliterates the goddess's body. With the goddess defeated, William and his men can finally rest in peace. But before departing, they tell Rycelia they are grateful to have served her in their final moments. Rycelia hears the girls calling for her, so the skeletal warriors hide. She reunites with Regina and Sakuya, who talk about Arl, thinking she was the one who defeated the goddess. Reinforcements arrive, and Fenris is happy to see that they are all alive. He orders medics to treat them as they fly back to base. Leo realizes that Arl destroyed the goddess's protection spell, but wonders what she is doing there. Since he knows she is a heroine, he asks about the book Rycelia is reading, and she says it's a story about a demon lord. She begins reading to him, and Leo realizes the story perfectly matches the description of himself as the demon lord, but notes it's not 100% accurate, so he figures it must just be a fairy tale. They arrive at the dormitory, where we see Leo with Blackas and Sherry talking about Nefakes, since they must find him and discover why he is awakening gods. They believe Nefakes must be treated as a threat. After hearing this, Sherry tells Leo to be careful with Arl, since her goal may be to eliminate him. Arl regains consciousness and realizes she hasn't vanished yet, so she concludes her mission isn't complete. She escapes the facility, determined to find her target. Sherry gets jealous of Leo for giving Rycelia a dress, and as the two argue, Rycelia overhears and enters the room. Leo gets extremely embarrassed seeing her wearing only a towel, and she begs to drink some of his blood, saying the dress's use left her completely exhausted. He reluctantly agrees, and she simply jumps on him. Afterward, we see Leo thinking about Rosalia, determined to continue searching for her. He also thinks about rebuilding his demon army and expanding his empire so that all humans will once again bow before him, only for a girl to suddenly trip and spill popcorn on him. Thus ends the first season of this anime. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, I recommend subscribing to the channel and sharing this video with your friends. Stay active and alert for new notifications from the channel. A big kiss to everyone, bye, and see you in the next video. I'm out.